Thank you for joining us today, Musa, to discuss transformation in the South African asset management sector. There seems to be a concerted effort from asset owners to be more overt about transformation in the last 12 to 24 months. I mean, we've seen three very big players, yourselves, GEPF, EPPF, and Alexander Forbes, just to mention the three of you, coming out and articulating your policies publicly. Can you share with us the background and context for the GEPF policy and the kind of impact that the GEPF is hoping to achieve once the policy is implemented?
Thank you, Isabella. So the GEPF transformation policy aims to provide the guiding principles for how investing intentionally for the attainment of our transformation objectives. And this is to invest so that we can impact specifically for the socio-economic objectives of the GEPF whilst earning a return, because that is important for us, but also achieving these social returns that we seek to achieve, as well as transforming the economy of the country.
I mean, while we are on the issue of transformation, I'm aware that the GEPF is not bound by Regulation 28 of the Pension Fund Act. But what is your view on people who say transformation is no longer a business imperative because Reg 28 of the Pension Fund Act has made it possible for South African retirement funds to allocate almost half of South Africa's retirement savings to foreign managers who are not required to comply with transformation requirements?
I'd say that that's short-sighted. For the economy of the country to grow, we need to be inclusive. So inclusion is important. We must allow everyone to participate in the economy. So transformation is important. Hence, we came up with a policy, and will emphasize that the implementation of this policy should include all players, and in some instances will be specific that it should be Black asset managers in the financial services sector space, as well as all the other areas that impact the investment landscape. Will ensure that we can, to the extent that we can, afford other players the opportunity to also participate in this and use the muscle that we have to leverage some of the institutions to ensure that we can impact the industry. So transformation is important, and it's unfortunate that if you are externalizing funds and South Africa then suffers, then our economy suffers. We won't be able to make this dent that we're hoping to make, either in job creation, economic growth, as well as inclusion, as I've mentioned already, to allow everyone to participate and benefit in our economy.
And I mean, historically, there's been, some companies across all sectors who have treated transformation as a tick box exercise. I mean, did the GEPF look at transformation policies across different sectors to avoid some of the maybe unintended consequences, or what others would have termed policy arbitrage that we have seen previously? For example, where you find Black shareholding, a company's got Black shareholders, but the shareholders are just financial investors. They're not involved in the day-to-day running or influencing the company in any shape or form.
Look, the GEPF has been very intentional in the development of its policies, and we've always been invested in trying to make sure we make a difference. We've had a developmental investment policy for the longest time at the GEPF, and this transformation policy is meant to emphasize our intentions in transforming the industry. So we are intentional in that we are now being specific that we want to transform the financial services sector in a responsible manner, still enjoying the investment returns that we seek to achieve, but also achieving social returns. I did mention that this is socio-economic, so we want financial and social returns. So we are mindful of the impact that we're going to make, and we're not going to be apologetic about how we're going to go about it in a responsible manner to achieve the returns that we want, but also ensure that there is inclusion and we take everyone along with, for the benefit of our members as well as society at large.
Talking about socio-economic transformation, your policy is very intentional, is very specific on that, and also about using private markets to drive quite a big element of that. Does this mean we will see more allocation to private markets from the GEPF, through your manager development program?
Yes, that is the intention. We believe that there is a future for growth in the country through the private markets, and we have given the PIC, our asset manager, the mandate and the levers to ensure that they can deploy funds through this program. So we believe that we will be able to achieve that through the private markets and deployment through private markets, and we are certain that private markets are the future of economic growth as well as job creation in the country.
And maybe just keeping with the theme of private markets, and you can address it in general. How is the GPF looking at in your transformation policy? How are you looking at addressing the fair sharing of economics across the value chain, going from your fund managers to asset consultant brokers and your research providers?
I think it's understanding as a large investor, the size of the GEPF, we understand that we've got a bigger role to play. So in allocating funds, for example, to emerging managers, the manager development program that we have in place, it's to understand the limits that we have in place. So having a set limit of how much we can allocate to emerging managers, but also understanding that we need to graduate these managers. They cannot remain in a development program forever. So you take them from incubation and then you graduate them all the way to being a fully fledged manager. So we have limits that we allocate to managers and then allow them to also have the ability to fundraise with other managers. That allows the equity within our base to allocate equitably to all of them based on the criteria that we've set, obviously, for managers. They have to have 51% ownership, black ownership, 51% senior leaders that are black in the institution. We have to ensure that there is some sort of bias in the allocation of the ownership of those structures, because the intentionality from our policies to ensure that we advance a certain criteria in the market. So we allow a certain allocation, which is a limit that we put for our emerging manager program, and all those that qualify based on the criteria that I've mentioned and the policy that's available on our website, they all get a similar allocation and then allow them to graduate as they progress through the program.
Okay, and your policy also says that you shall allocate the necessary resources to implement the transformation policy. Can you just give us a sense of what kind of resources the GEPF is referring to?
So resources is the extent to which we will need to enable the development, manager development programs. So if it means we need to go on road shows, if it means we need to partner with other players in the market to enable these programs to flourish, we will do so. So this can be human resources, financial resources, to the extent that we'll have to appoint other service providers to assist us to achieve this goal. We will do that. So it's all resources that are necessary for us to enable this program to achieve to be successful.
I mean, talking about partnering with other players in the market, RMB has got an emerging manager program where we offer package banking products to emerging managers at affordable fees. How does the GEPF, how would you like to see other players in the investment management ecosystem support the acceleration of transformation in the sector, and especially, help you implement your policy?
I think the power of collaboration is very important, especially if we want to make a big impact. The GEPF cannot do this alone, and we welcome the fact that yourselves, as well as other players, the EPPF, where you mentioned Alex Forbes, also have a program like this. If we can tailor make products and solutions that will encourage the empowerment of emerging managers, that will go a long way in assisting emerging managers, as well as other players in the financial services sector, for the intentional growth of this sector. So tailor-making solutions for them, enabling them to achieve what they want to achieve, will get us where we want to go.